What's going on, everyone? It's Scott here. Welcome back to the channel and back to talk about yet another disappointing Michigan State performance. Michigan State lost as they drop another one at home, 57-60 to Ohio State. Their first time losing back-to-back home games since, I believe, 2016 when that team, or 2015, I think 2016 when they lost two in a row back then. But now you've dropped two games in a row with two teams that are most likely on the outside looking in terms of the NCAA tourney, and two games that you really had to win. But now you find yourself kind of back on the bubble and kind of needing to win at least two of these next final three games of the regular season, and probably even if you do win those two games, unless one of those wins is Purdue, you got to probably get a win or two. Probably one win. If you go 2-1 the rest of the regular season and at least get one win in the Big Ten tournament, you're probably in. But now you're, staring down a tough matchup, obviously next Saturday at Purdue, and then looking at Boo Booey coming in on senior night on Wednesday, and then the following Sunday going to Indiana for their senior night, which, no, they haven't played great this year. They're sitting towards the bottom of the Big Ten, but still, it's a tough place to play. And with how this team has played this year, you never know what can happen. But let's just kind of briefly go over the game. We were all kind of excited before the game when we heard some rumblings that, hey, there might be a lineup change. And there was. I was expecting it to be maybe, Coop starting instead or Jackson starting instead. But then we get the kind of bomb that Xavier Booker's finally starting. So, we all great moods before the game. Like, Tom finally did it. He finally realized, what's going on. And he came in and, was kind of worried about going into the game about him kind of pulling him if he, made a couple mistakes, like kind of having a real short leash on him. But he, let him play. He let him play through some mistakes and, a couple of defensive, lapses a little bit and, not boxing out a couple times. But he let him play, and it turned out okay for him. He played the first, I believe, 4 or 5 minutes of the game until the first media timeout, and overall, he hung in there for the most part. He made a couple nice plays. He had a nice sequence where he hit a three on offense, came down and got a block going into the media timeout before he got subbed out there. Then he got a second stint in the first half as well, then started the second half as well. But problem is, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, he didn't play the last, I believe it was 12, or more, 12 plus minutes of the second half. Didn't see the court, and that's where Michigan State lost this game because they were up 10 at halftime, 32-22. And then also Cohen Carr, he got some minutes in the first half, but finished only 7 minutes. Made some plays that don't show up in the stat sheet. He only has 2 points, a steal, and a rebound in the stat sheet on 1 for 2 shooting, but defensively he was able to do some things, and his 2 points was from running the floor and getting to the basket like he does. Things that this team needs to do, going forward, and things that this team is used to doing in the Tom Izzo era throughout his whole time here. So I still don't understand why he's only getting 7 minutes a game. More on the team, AJ and the whole team was on it defensively, especially to start the game. Really until the last 12 minutes of the game, they were on it defensively, and AJ even, was really right up into Thornton. Probably heard it about how Thornton really had his way with the Spartans last year in the Big Ten tournament, but AJ was on him defensively from the start, full court pressing and really holding him 11 points on 3 assists and 4 rebounds, 4 for 13 shooting, 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. I say they did an overall good job on Bruce Thornton. But the problem is, shocker, tell me if you've heard this one before, Devin Royal has a career day against Michigan State. He comes in to the game averaging 3 points a game, and today he goes ahead and pours in his best game of the season at 14 points. So shocker, and we also kind of caught a break going into this game with arguably their second best player, Jamison Battle, missing the game due to injury. But so you knew someone was gonna step up, and it was Royal for them. He had a career game for them. Then kind of more same old for the Michigan State centers. Coop really struggled. Maddie struggled. Coop played 8 minutes. Maddie played 15 minutes. Jax got in there for 12. I thought Jax gave some okay minutes there for a little bit. His stats only 2 and 3, but I think defensively he did some okay things. Obviously, him playing the 5 and being a little bit smaller for that position, he's really more of a 4 or a small ball 5, even though he can't do some of the things that you'd like a small ball 5 to do in terms of handling the ball. But I thought he hung in there and gave some decent energy minutes. But I think, once again, the Cooper Sissoko, that it turns into a black hole when you go to them on offense. Down low, you give them the ball. Defensively, it seems like Cooper gets beat about every time. Closing the game, and, we'll kind of circle back to this again. I know this is the second time mentioning this, but, Maddie closed the game the last, 7, 8 minutes of the game. Closed the game and didn't come out. And, he played more of the last 10 minutes of the game than he did the whole last game. And, averaged out the last 2 or 3 games. He played more just the last 10 minutes, which I get it. Wanted him in there for rebounding and, blocking shots, defense. But, I don't know. When it seemed like a couple costly mistakes in a row, he had the diving for the loose ball and not getting it and kind of tripping the Ohio State defender, foul call, and then, coming over and doubling on a possession or two later and getting the foul call there, back-to-back big, defensive lapses there, and you're trying to throw a senior in there for presumably defensive and rebounding purposes, and it just doesn't pan out. Another note, Trey really has not had it going. 2 points again tonight, 2 assists. He hasn't been, getting a lot of shots recently, and I think that's just because the MSU offense hasn't been flowing as it was, say, when he did have it going in December, and he really hasn't had it going for a while. He has been able to still, add his assists and, running the team in terms of coming off the bench, and he's really kind of Michigan State's do it all off the bench. He'll come in and, he'll sub in 1 through 3 for AJ, Tyson, and Jaden. So, he'll still do some good things for you, but he hasn't had it rolling offensively like he did earlier in the season. Then we got to talk about it. Every game we talk about the 4 main guys for Michigan State, and really you can say 3 of the 4 didn't have it going tonight. Malik was all right, 15 and 7. 5 for 9 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, 4 for 4 from the line. He had it going all right, but Tyson really struggled tonight, 5 for 15 and 1 for 6 from the field and 3-point line, 12 points. He had a couple big buckets late, and had 2 free throws to their second to last offensive possession, but missed the front end, made the second one to tie it up, and what kind of set up Ohio State then eventually going down and getting that game-winning 3. AJ 9 and 4, but it's just still, I know Tom will always say it, he hasn't been as hard in the media lately on AJ, but we need more out of your senior starting point guard than 9 and 4 in a game that you got to win after you already dropped one this week that you can't afford to drop. So that was, obviously disappointing, and AJ will be the first to tell you that he needs to play better. Jaden struggling again, 4 points. 3 steals, though, however, so he still is bringing it on the defensive end, but 3 rebounds as well. But we need more. We need more out of them. We need more out of AJ and Jaden. We know that. They know that. They just got to show up and perform. Tyson, he's really been struggling shooting. Obviously, it seems like he's kind of nursing an injury over the last, handful of weeks. But, when your best player and 3 of your 4 best players are struggling to make shots and be productive on the offensive end, that leads to you only scoring 57 points in a conference game, you're going to struggle. I think as a whole, the whole team was really defensively locked in for the whole game. I mean, they held Ohio State 17.6% from 3, 37.9% overall from the field. I think they played all right defense. And as we said, they kind of were able to slow Thornton down, which going into the game, I thought he was the guy who was still going to get off for them. Gale had a solid game for them, 12 and 8. Akpara and Key didn't do as much as I expected them to. 10 for Akpara, only 4 for Key. You still get out rebounded 39-33, but that's every game thing for Michigan State. Turnovers, Ohio State didn't turn the ball over, as we kind of talked about in the preview for this game. They didn't turn it over against Purdue, and they forced Purdue to turn it over. And here, it was obviously closer than that matchup was. They turned it over 9 times. We turned it over 10. But fast break points, Michigan State did win 22-8. Points in the paint go to Ohio State at 34-30. But Michigan State led this one the whole way. I believe there was one tie, but Michigan State was up by at most 12, and Ohio State's largest leads were 3, and it was on the last second 3 to win the game. So you thought for probably 75% of the game, Michigan State played well enough to win, but that last 25% where they kind of gave up that 12-point lead at the end is very disappointing. And, kind of talking about the rotations that Izzo's ran, the staffs ran. If you go on Twitter, you go on any 24/7 or, whatever, talking about the team, everyone will talk about the rotations we're running, and, that's all you can really say is you don't really know what some of these rotations you're thinking of, the 2 big lineups. You even go on Big Ten, Big Ten Network after the game, and you have John Beilein on there saying it's really, really hard to play 2 big lineups. And Michigan State has done it consistently with, say, Carson and Jackson, Maddie and Coop, Coop and Jackson. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's no offense out there. I think at one point there was Trey Holloman, Jaden Akins, Cohen Carr, Carson Cooper, and Matty Sissoko out there at one point. And, your really only guy who can create a consistent shot for himself out of that lineup is Jaden. We've seen it some from Trey. But just, some of these lineups, they just can't, they just can't happen. You have a large sample size of them not working. Post-game, Izzo said that the reason Xavier Booker didn't get in the last, 12 plus minutes, 8 plus minutes, whatever it was, I forget the last time he checked into the game. I think it was actually 15. Now I remember one of the reporters' questions, I forget who asked it, but someone asked Booker if he thought he was done when I think it was Chris Solari, but asked him if he thought that he was done when he checked out at the 15-minute mark, and he said, no, I didn't think I was done. But unfortunately, he didn't see the court the rest of the time, even though he finished the game with the best plus-minus on the team at plus 11. But Izzo said post-game he didn't think that he could handle their ball screens well enough. That's why he didn't see the game towards the end, and that's why they went more defense with Maddie. We saw what happened, then we've seen a large sample size the whole season, the past couple seasons of what happens. It's just, at times it's there, but a majority of the time it's not there. So, why keep doing the same thing when you get the same results? That's, kind of the definition of insanity, right? But meanwhile, the Ohio State coach on the other side said that they were able to enter the ball to the post lower when Booker was out of the game. I believe someone asked him, what changed that last, 8, 12 minutes where Michigan State, I believe, scored 7 points or 11 points, something like that, in the last 11, 12 minutes of the game. And Ohio State was able to storm back. But Izzo also did say, and this is via Chris Solari, I want to shout him out for getting this quote from the press conference, I didn't think we were desperate enough the whole game. Like, yeah, no kidding, Tom. We haven't been desperate enough all year long. That's why we're in this position where now, we need to win 2 of 3 and a game in the Big Ten tournament to secure another NCAA tournament berth. And this is the 4th year in a row that we're, going through this, stressing the last couple weeks of the season when can't tell you the last time we've, had this. I guess you can say the, Cassius freshman year a little bit, but, a little bit there and a little bit in 2015 when they made the Final Four run. But besides those 2 outlier years, that's just not what this program's used to. That's not what Tom Izzo built this program on and what us as fans and him as a coach, most importantly, and his players and everyone involved in the program expects either. So that's what's disappointing about this. And, sure, the numbers still love this team, but let's be honest. As we said, you need to win 2 of 3 here to close the regular season and at least 1 game in the Big Ten tournament to now get in, which is just kind of pathetic. and very disappointing overall season. Just obviously mentioning the fact that you start the year top four, top five, top four team in the country rated, and obviously those are just preseason rankings. Who knows? But it seems like a couple things, a couple changes per se throughout the whole season, and this season and this team looks a whole lot different. But I think going forward that you need to we've seen what Book has done when he's out there and he gets some, more run and more leeway, that, he can be pretty special, and I think he can be a dynamic piece for this team. I think I mentioned in the preview for this one, I think eventually you got to go to the small ball. I thought all year, I kind of expressed that I thought he was just trying to see what he can get out of the center position, but come crunch time in the, in the tournament and whatnot, I thought he was going to go to, kind of the lineup that he was running in the couple tournament games last year, and specifically the Kansas State game where, you had Malik Hall at the 5, and where you look like, arguably the best team in the tournament when that was the lineup you were running out there. So I thought he was kind of just saving that for the end of the year in March to kind of throw a curveball at them and see if, anything transpired from the center position. But, we're kind of getting down to it now, and, you need to get some wins these last, couple weeks of the regular season and the Big Ten tournament to secure an NCAA tournament berth. But just an absolutely brutal home loss, 2 in a row. Now you got, you got the whole week. You got 5 days off until you go into Mackey, into Purdue, which will obviously be a very tough game. Haven't won there since, I believe, 2013, 2014, 2012, somewhere in there. But it's been quite a long time. Obviously, a very tough place to play, and obviously Purdue ranked number 2 in the country. But got the whole week to work on yourself, work on a good game plan for Purdue. But we'll be back later this week to preview that game and talk about it. But thank you all so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace out, and go green.